when we look at the condition and we realize the situation, for example, of people in the developing world, okay, they are actually historically and to this day exploited by the quote unquote developed world. So I remember, just this past week looking at an old documentary by John Pilger, where he was discussing how, there's all these big grandiose fundraising projects like Live Aid that they did in 1985, and this Red Nose Day that they did, where it was like basically comic relief, where in one day they raised 12 million pounds. Okay, so they raised they basically over the time of this whole project raised 12 million pounds. He said that money alone was already flowed back to developed countries. So developed countries already had that money flow back to them. And if we look at recent statistics, in 2012, the last year that we have recorded data of this flow of money, developing countries received a total of $1.3 trillion in aid, okay, from developed countries. Okay, so the rich, let's say rich Western countries, gave $1.3 trillion in aid. So let's all give ourselves a pat on the back. Let's all take a knee now. It's time to relax. You've done good. You don't have to think about anything anymore. We did such a great job. $1.3 trillion. That same year, $3.3 trillion flowed from those developing countries to these developed countries. Okay. And if we look at the stats from 1980 to 2012, $16.3 trillion has flowed from the developing countries to the rich countries. Okay. So rich countries aren't developing poor countries. Poor countries are developing rich countries. Okay. $4.2 trillion in interest payments alone flowed from developing countries to developed countries. So they're paying back interest on loans that the masses of people don't even know that they took these loans out in the first place, or why they needed to take these loans out. Many of the times they were forced to take these loans out under political pressure, or other reasons that aren't beneficial to their society. For example, like taking massive loans to fight in wars with each other, and then you're paying interest on these massive loans. Okay, the way that a lot of these developed countries exploit these developing countries is that they're illegally set up tax shelters. So they use a lot of trade misinvoicing, and so they don't declare, or they hide a lot of the income or the exploitation that occurs, or that they're able to get away with in a lot of these developing countries. So there's a lot of reasons that we can go to, okay? But if we look into the why, that's a more harsher reality. That's a more harder challenge to deal with. But because you're talking about now not just creating a feel-good project or event or a concert that everyone can just feel good about and sing Kumbaya together and then giving donations. No, you're talking about fundamentally changing an unjust system.
Do I feel that the New York police are providing enough protection, or do I have to have protection of my own? I look for protection from Allah.